Xiao Ming's master Qiao Nian Nian Nian, who feeds on evil spirits, unexpectedly dressed up as the dark green tea of the entire internet on a love show. This green tea, with the same name and surname as her, is stuck with the little heavenly king, the Yin Yang female lead, and black fans everywhere, ready to withdraw from the circle. Regarding this, Qiao Nian Nian said, "The Yin mountain and Yin water in this love comprehensive record system have a strong evil energy, making it an excellent place for cultivation. How can I be lacking? Delete the withdrawal statement and return to recording, everyone mocks. Salted fish struggling, never turning over. But I don't want to." On a love show, Qiao Nian recited the left-hand exorcism talisman and the right hand swallowing evil curse, and after annihilating the Great White Lotus, he hammered the scumbag man to death, and along the way, he played the game of Feng Sheng Shui. The international famous director came to his doorstep and begged, "Remember the fairy, please provide protection for the next play." Famous designer threw $1,000 and said, "Remember the fairy, please come and shine for the show." The wealthy CEO disregarded his figure and said, "Remember the fairy, please use a talisman to control the group's house." Even the cold and indifferent cleanliness-obsessed actor lowered his head for her alone, without any taboos. Chapter 1. Declaration of Withdrawal from Circle. You are listening at novelfull.audio. How could Countdown to Love invite Qiao Nian to recite this kind of green tea? Gu Ting even said he didn't like her anymore, and she kept flipping it upside down. Now she even splashes hot water on Ruru's body. It's really disgusting, such a beautiful face, but the owner is a scheming woman. It's not worth liking her during the first episode of my program. +1. However, it is said that she is about to withdraw from the circle. In the future, we won't be able to see her, so we don't have to feel like it's a waste. Happy de Pooh Ben. The talisman burned on the green onion white fingertips, the black evil soul turned into a ball of cotton candy and stuffed it into his mouth. Xiao Nianen passed through the comments under the hot search hashtag Xiao Nianen withdrew from the entertainment industry hashtag, and finally sadly confirmed one thing again. Her reputation is hopeless. She was originally a little underworld master named Xiao Nianen who relied on evil as her food. After choking herself, she dressed up as this female celebrity with the same name and surname as her. She had heard many stories about the entertainment industry in the human world from young ghosts. At first, she knew her identity and found it a bit interesting. She thought that it would be good to change her environment after living for tens of thousands of years. However, in the next moment, her Weibo account directly cursed and exploded, causing her phone to crash at one point. And she no longer had common sense in the world, and at this moment she recalled the all-internet black that the little ghosts had spoken of. After understanding the end of her career, Qiao Nian Nian sighed and her phone suddenly dimmed, popping out of the call interface. Qiao Nian Nian held down the answer button once, but this time he didn't hang up. She leaned over and shouted loudly, "Hello, Miss Tan, can you hear me?" "You can hear it. You don't need to speak so loudly." The agent over there, Tan Yelan, forcefully covered the receiver. "I have sent you the withdrawal statement. You can send it out without making any changes. Did you hear me?" Qiao Nian said, "Oh," and opened WeChat, copying and pasting the withdrawal statement sent by Tan Yelan onto Weibo. She knows she's going to retire today. Last week was the third live broadcast of Love in Progress. During the filming process of that episode, the original owner had a dispute with the popular little flower Xiao Ming. When Gu Ting came to fight, the original owner poured a cup of hot water onto Xiao Ming. Although she wore a down jacket in winter without proper attention or actual harm, the live broadcast of this scene was met with resistance from viewers across the entire network. A banner demanding her to leave the circle was pulled up to the company's doorstep, and both the agent and the company owner were subjected to verbal abuse. The work of other artists from the same company was also affected. So, after carrying it for almost a week, regardless of how the original owner said they didn't know how cold water turned into hot water, the the company decided to issue a withdrawal statement for Qiao Nian and refrigerate her. How long is the flowering period of an artist? The industry has been going one after another, and it can change in just a few years. The original owner is now in high demand, and if she comes out of refrigeration for a few years, it will be equivalent to the death of her career. Knowing the company's decision, the original owner did not hesitate to choose to commit suicide by burning charcoal, and from the underworld, she took over this body. However, it's useless if she takes over. After all, she doesn't have much interest in the entertainment industry. It's better for her to apply for a job as an undertaker at a funeral home with a salary of 18,000 yuan, while eating evil spirits and practicing to return to the underworld as soon as possible. With a snap, Xiao Nian posted the withdrawal statement and read the notification on Weibo. She picked up her phone and said, "I've finished posting, Miss Tan. Is there anything else?" "It's gone." "Ah oh." Tan Yilan flipped through Weibo and remembered, "By the way, I have sent you some personal shooting materials. Although it's not very useful, they can be kept as a souvenir." After speaking, Tan Yilan sighed. She has been carrying Qiao Nian Nian since she was 18 years old. For 2 years now, when she took Qiao Nian 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 with her, she has always felt that Qiao Nian 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 is a good child. Even if Qiao Nian Nian's acting skills are poor and she has a face, she still thinks that Qiao Nian 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 can have a world. But who would have thought she knew that Qiao Nianan liked Gu Ting? But no matter how much she thought about it, she didn't think that Qiao Nianan was a romantic brain who would hurt people by bringing hot water for Gu Ting. However, no matter how much she believed it, the hot water poured out. She now regrets it very much and agrees that Qiao Nian Nian will follow Gu Ting on this love show. Sighs echoed in his ears as Qiao Nian Nian opened the materials on WeChat on time. These are all her personal filming clips from Love in Progress. She looked at the sunny smiling face in the video and flipped it over, intending to save it. Suddenly, she clicked on a different video, which should have been mixed up in the clip and sent the wrong one. That is a wide-angle shooting video of the recording venue, which shows a large villa located in the countryside. The villa is facing the water and mountains, and at first glance, it looks quiet and elegant. However, when the camera zooms in, a gloomy ghost face suddenly sticks to the camera. With dark eyes and a crimson tongue sticking out around his neck, he smiled straight and hooked at the photographer. But the photographer moved the camera as if without feeling anything, shooting back and forth among several evil spirits until they retreated in front of the sun-stopping platform. Evil energy overflowed from the white wooden door on the balcony, and the photographer pushed open the balcony. On the sofa in the sunlight, a man sat. He was shrouded in evil energy all over, but dressed in luxurious pure white, holding a script while reading. The clear sunlight fell from the tip of his towering nose, but still did not make his whole body cold and melt. Is it currently being filmed? Sorry. The video is broken here. Qiao Nian Nian pulled back the progress bar and looked at it again. 1 second later, she cut out the person and sent it to Tanilan, saying, "Tan Jia, 3 minutes, I want all the information about this person." Ah. Tan Yilan had originally planned to hang up the phone. After scanning WeChat, she replied, "What information? Isn't this the movie Emperor He Ji Fun? Crane Season Burning, International Top Stream." At the age of 25, he has already swept across the world and won all the authoritative awards. When Love in Progress started airing, he had already released promotional images that he would participate in, but no one would think of dating him. Because it is said that he only came to temporarily take control because the contracted company Huaentropy invested in this program. Qiao Nian Nian has the name He Ji Fun in her memory, but she doesn't care much about this person and doesn't have his image. Now that I know, it's different. She will definitely return to the underworld. After the disappearance of the underworld master, there will only be her and the 2 impermanents sitting in the underworld. If she doesn't drag her back, the underworld will eventually become chaotic. But her physical body is already dead, and after crossing through, she has no cultivation. She is afraid that when she passes through the gates of hell, she will be detected and killed by human lightning strikes. Just in case, she had to eat a lot of evil spirits and evil energy to refine her body. She even planned to work in a funeral home for 300 years for this goal, but there appeared such a magnificent Feng Shui treasure land, with so many ghosts, and also such a crane season burning, with such a large evil energy cluster. This evil energy cannot be accumulated for 3 lifetimes. If she eats it, she will probably be able to return to the underworld soon. Qiao Nian Nian's expectations for the future suddenly became clear. Chapter 2. Re-recording. You are listening at novelfull.audio. She clicked on Weibo and with a snap, deleted the withdrawal statement that had already been clicked and commented on as the top comment on Weibo. Then she said, "Sister Tan, I want to continue recording the program." Tan Yelan was browsing the comments and halfway through the statement that it was gone. She was wondering, but listening to Qiao Nian's words again, she became even more confused. What program? Xiao Nian replied, "When love goes on." Are you crazy? Tan Yelan immediately exclaimed, because your reputation for this program is so bad now, and you have already posted statements. Hundreds of thousands of people know that you will no longer be recording or active in the entertainment industry in the next episode. How can you change your tune now? Why not? If I can return, I can come back. Xiao Nian Nian stood up, crossed the overturned charcoal pot and the room full of chaos into the cloakroom, finding a dress to compare with. And the production team hasn't decided yet. You can go and help me explain it. This is nonsense. Tan Jie, is your birthday on the evening of the first day of the 10th month in the year of Yi Chou in the lunar calendar, at midnight. Tan Yelan was worried when Qiao Nian Nian suddenly asked. Tan Yelan was taken aback for a moment. She only told Xiao Nian Nian about her Gregorian birthday and instinctively said, "Yes. Recently, my work hasn't been smooth. Apart from my situation, I think other artists' arrangements and promotions have also encountered difficulties, including in the company. You often inexplicably miss some materials and get credit from other agents. Also, during this period of time in your life, you have always been stumbling, with frequent headaches and a sore neck. Last night, while cooking, you almost caused a fire and burned a big blister on your forearm." Tan Yelan was stunned and said, "I haven't told you these things, how could you know?" Since the filming of the program, Qiao Nian Nian's reputation has plummeted, and Tan Yelan is afraid of her worries, so many things are kept from her. Qiao Nian Nian didn't respond and invited her for a video call. Tan Yelan answered, and Qiao Nian Nian's beautiful black eyes swept across her face. The Yin Tang turned black, and the calamity followed closely. Qiao Nian 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 said heavily, "Lan Jie, within 30 seconds, you will die." "What are you talking about?" Tan Yelan smiled incredulously. "Are you under too much pressure?" "It's okay, even if it's refrigerated, I will help." Before the words could be finished, Xiao Nian's voice came out of her phone. "Stop." Tan Yelan instinctively stood still. Suddenly, a billboard fell from the sky, rubbing against the back of her phone hand and shattering on the ground. Boom! A huge noise accompanied by splashing glass shattered at her feet. Despite being so close, the glass didn't scratch her at all. Tan Yelan's face turned pale with fear. The owner rushed out of the restaurant, glanced at him, and quickly shouted to Tan Yelan, "Why did my glass fall off, beautiful woman? Are you okay?" Tan Yelan finally regained her soul, shook her head, hurriedly bypassed the billboard, and sat under the eaves of a milk tea shop, holding her phone with wet hands. "So, what's going on?" Well. In simple terms, I know how to tell fortune, and you are currently plagued by disasters. But if you help me talk to the program about recording, I can help you ward off evil spirits." After speaking, Xiao Nian Nian added, "You can't stay here either, otherwise a fork will fly out of the milk tea shop and stick it in the back of your head. Then when you reincarnate, Mengpo will ask you where the fork on your head comes from and laugh at you." Tan Yelan immediately stood up, but before she could leave for long, a dispute suddenly broke out in the milk tea shop. During the fight between the customer and the clerk who was having lunch threw a fork out and flew straight over the spot where she had just sat, stabbing it into the green tree at the door. Tan Yelan looked at the fork and trembled all over. Half an hour later, she sent the news of the agreement with the production team to Qiao Nianen and cried, "Nianen, help me." Qiao Nian Nian smiled slightly. In the evening, when the production team of Love in Progress released a new list of recorded celebrities, the hot search was sure to explode again. Why is Qiao Nianen still here? Didn't she quit the entertainment industry? What's wrong with this green tea? Is this episode about inserting her nostalgia clip? In the previous episode, she poured hot water on Gentleness. Although Gentleness let her go, splashing it on her was equivalent to disfigurement and attempted murder, the production team gives a reason. The production team should come out and explain clearly. The program team gave a statement rushed to the top of the hot search, and Gu Ting, the little king of the music industry, also stepped forward to share it. At Gu Ting. In the previous episode, it was clearly agreed not to record anymore, and the withdrawal statement was also sent. The production team also informed us that we were missing one person. I also want to know why there was suddenly an additional name named by Qiao Nian. At When Love is in Progress questioning, following closely towards Gentleness. At To Gentle Forward. I think it may just be that the Weibo operator forgot to delete it. Please don't get excited. And even if Qiao Nian Nian really comes back, I don't think it's a big deal. After all, I wasn't injured in the water splashing incident last time, so it was probably just a misunderstanding. As soon as the two of them came out, they were immediately followed by a hot search. Gu Ting's support was countless, and beneath his gentle comments, there was even more heartache. Why did she say it's okay when she came back? Gentle, you are just as your name suggests. You are so kind. Before splashing water, Qiao Nian 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 always targeted you, baby. How many times did you suffer from exclusion and how many times did you get framed? Have you forgotten? Last time at the hot spring, you said you couldn't swim, but she pushed you into the water. If it weren't for Gu Ting, would you still be alive? Why can you be so tolerant even of this kind of green tea? My treasure is so kind, woo-woo. Take advantage of our baby's popularity and put our baby aside. You have no heart, program team. Amidst constant questioning, there was no response during the love affair, instead only waiting for the actor He Jifan to arrive. At Crane Season Burning. Take care of yourself. In less than 10 minutes, the number of comments for the 4 cold words exceeded the sum of the first 2, heading straight to 3 million. In the comments, there were all kinds of husbands shouting loudly. Not long after, Qiao Nianen forwarded this Weibo post again. At Qiao Nian Nian. Crane Shadow Emperor / Smiling Face, please give me your guidance. A sentence of naming and surname, everyone is foolish. Wait a moment, I'm not mistaken, am I? What is Qiao Nian Nian doing? She withdrew from the circle, right? Now that the controversy is on the rise, what does she want to do? Do you want to bring us Mr. Crane to sink together? Wait, it seems like she has already deleted the statement. Combined with the operation of the program team, is she going to make a comeback? As soon as the previous comment was posted, a forward suddenly flashed by. At Qiao Nian Nian. Yes, I'm back. Please support me a lot. Those who like me have good luck. Koi descends. JPG, this announcement caught everyone off guard, and after a 10-minute silence, the hot search engine flipped the sky and became paralyzed. Chapter 3. Unpopular Qiao Nian Nian. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. But the culprit Qiao Nianen didn't care. She bought a bunch of yellow talismans and was writing incantations on them with bright red cinnabar. She pressed her phone on the talisman and soon lit up Gu Ting's name. She didn't even look, just pressed it off. On the other side, in the deep mountain villa, Heji's cold and watery gaze fell on Xiao Nian's riposte. After a while, he raised his hand and crossed the Weibo post from the background, tore off the talisman bandage wrapped around his waist, and sneaked into the deep pool filled with spells. The second day after Weibo announced the list, it was the fourth recording of the program. Love in Progress is a mixed love program between celebrities, internet celebrities, and ordinary people. It consists of 4 pairs of men and women, with a total of 12 episodes and 4 major stages recorded. The 3 phases of the first phase mainly focus on getting to know and interact with the guests, while from the 4th phase onwards, the program begins to take the right path, allowing guests to pair up and do tasks to enhance interaction. Knowing the importance of this episode, the guests all arrived early. I heard there is also Qiao Nian in this episode. On the sofa, Yen Xie, who comes from a girl group, held hands and glanced at the production team. I don't know what she's capable of. She's so malicious that the production team allows her to continue recording. Ruji, why don't the company protest against the production team? Xiang Wenwen sat down on the seat, wearing a white long dress and holding a windbreaker in her hand, looking around. Knowing that she was looking for a clothes rack, Gu Ting naturally reached out and helped her hang it up. Wow, this is too sweet, right? Just as he looked up gently, Gu Ting didn't hesitate at all. What kind of divine understanding? Unfortunately, there is still Qiao Nian Nian in this episode, and the thought of her fills my heart. Fortunately, she hasn't come yet, otherwise she would definitely have to act like a light bulb and insert it horizontally again. The recording in the villa started at 6 o'clock, and Love in Progress was extremely popular, so even if you were yawning to work, there would still be a lot of people keeping an eye on the program. Watching the chatter of dissatisfaction in the barrage, the director of the production team, Zhou Wei, coughed a few times and took the intercom. I think it's necessary to clarify the question about Qiao Nian continuing to participate in the recording. Zhou Wei's voice rang out in the villa. Qiao Nian's recording this time was the result of communication between the production team and Qiao Nian's company. Both the production team and the company agreed that good gatherings are the essence of the love show, so this episode is actually Qiao Nian's final recording. Please be aware. As the speaker turned off, Zhou Wei's voice disappeared with a beep, and the camera and attention returned to the guests in the villa. Looking up gently, there was no significant expression fluctuation, and the whole body still exuded a peaceful and elegant aura. Gu Ting looked at her with a furrowed brow and some doubts. The last episode. If you ask me, I shouldn't even record this last episode for her. Yen Xie was filled with indignation. She has already done something hurtful. The production team is being lenient, and who knows if she will come up with something wrong in this episode. She felt injustice towards gentleness all over her stomach, and reached out to hold her. Before she could speak, the Hanfu internet celebrity Song Qianxia sitting in the corner of the sofa raised her hand. But Song Qianxia's 2 little lamb tail braids swayed behind her and said cautiously, I think Qiao Nian's mentality is quite peaceful. These normal interactions have also been okay, only when facing Sister Xiang. The smile on her gentle lips collapsed without leaving a trace, but she still held on and followed Song Qianxia's words, saying, I also think Nian Nian is pretty good. She has already made a name for herself in advertisements multiple times at a young age, and her future is limitless. I am several years older than her, and even though I am not as good as her. Her eyes dimmed for a moment, and she slowly glanced at Gu Ting before falling back down. She smiled bitterly and said, I also hope to get along well with her. To be gentle and elegant in appearance, to be calm and generous in demeanor, and to be even more heartwarming when feeling sad. Gu Ting's heart suddenly began to ache. Gentle, don't care what others say. It's Qiao Nian's fault, not yours. Grasping Xiang's gentle hand, Gu Ting glanced wearily at Song Qianxiao. How could anyone still talk to Qiao green tea when I'm so annoyed? Song Qianxiao is so foolish. Can Qiao Cha's calmness be true calmness? He must be acting for someone like you. That's right, don't act, otherwise where would anyone target gentleness with her? Our Xiaoxia family has only been temporarily deceived. Please discuss rationally and avoid personal attacks, weakness. Do I think Song Qianxia makes some sense to be the only one? Xiao Nian seems to be quite calm, but when she collides with tenderness for a minute or two, she inexplicably becomes irritable. How could she be jealous that she is also a female celebrity who wants to have an image? That's because gentleness has something she doesn't have, so the one in front can go see a doctor now. The barrage was lively, but Song Qianxia pursed her lips and remained silent. At this moment, the male supermodel Fu Shen and the young actor Umo in the kitchen greeted each other for breakfast. Song Qianxia responded and headed towards the restaurant, while the remaining few stood up. But hasn't Xiao Nian Nian come yet? Yan Xie said, glancing at the entrance and mocking. She wouldn't have known that the audience was resisting her and retreated from the battle, would she? Gently tugged at her with tenderness. Yan Xie frowned and said helplessly, I understand. I won't say anything about her, okay? But why hasn't the Crane Shadow Emperor come? Do you want to ask the director? Asked the gentle eyebrows and eyes. Director Zhou is also feeling strange. Pressing the microphone, he said, Hejifan has a foreign trip and is now on her way. As for Qiao Nian, she is the first guest to come to the villa. Everyone was stunned, still speechless, when a loud yawn came down the staircase. Everyone turned around and saw Qiao Nian Nian with a drowsy expression on her face, still wearing a set of furry skull jumpsuit pajamas. She held a thermos containing goji berries in her arms, and half of her sleeve extended her round 5 fingers to block her mouth, then yawned long. Haha. She stretched lazily and blinked her green and gray panda-like eyes, looking at the only pair of purple slippers at the door and complaining, hasn't Hejifan come yet? Everyone was already stunned by this moment. Did I read it correctly? Is this Qiao Nian Nian Nian? Isn't she the one who takes care of her image the most? What's going on with her whole body? Skull pajamas, panda eyes, goji berry thermos in my arms. Although I can understand the need for a different persona, but what about this, Hell's health enthusiast? No, isn't the point about her asking the Crane Emperor about this? You really believe her? It's just how she treated Gu Ting, and now these are just playing hard to catch and attract attention. The audience discussed, and Gu Ting didn't believe that Xiao Nian Nian really had feelings for He Ji Fun. Xiao Nian Nian entered the entertainment industry 2 years ago, and at that time she openly stated that she was his fan. Even if there was no cooperation between companies, she always independently helped him forward and promote new songs, and even tried to hold large-scale concerts. Even after learning that he came after him on Love in Progress. How could such Qiao Nian Nian give up on him overnight? Chapter 4. Qiao Nian Nian is going to have bad luck. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Wearily frowning and pulling towards gentleness, he walked towards the kitchen. I thought Qiao Nian 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 would definitely feel lonely, but suddenly the sound of parking came from outside the villa. Qiao Nian Nian drew talismans all night, but her energy was exhausted too much and her ghost-eating recovery was too slow. She wanted to replenish her evil energy, but she came early and didn't see Crane Ji burn, so she went back to her room to sleep. Now she finally had the big cotton candy she wanted, and her eyes lit up. Da ran all the way to the entrance and opened the door. She collided with He Ji Fun, who was putting down her luggage and pushing the door with her hand. With his eyes facing each other, He Ji Fun took a slight step back and lowered his hand, but unexpectedly, Qiao Nian Nian grabbed it. Xiao Nuan's warm 10 fingers held onto the cold big palm, and Qiao Nian Nian looked at the evil energy emanating from He Ji Fun's body, laughing 2 dimples. Hello, big cotton candy. You finally arrived. I've been waiting for you for a long time. She slapped the purple slippers next to Heji's feet and said, "You change your shoes, I'll help you carry your luggage up." Before Hejifan could react, Qiao Nianin had already carried 2 suitcases upstairs, left and right. After a series of operations, Hejifan was stunned, and the guests were stunned. There were hundreds of millions of viewers outside the screen who were preparing to crash into the big wall for Hejifan, and their typing movements were also stiff. What's going on? I've never been so confused before. A bullet screen drifted alone on the screen, instantly retrieving everyone's souls. I'm also +1. I can't understand the action mode of Qiao Nian 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 at all. She is so passionate about the actor, she hasn't even seen Gu Ting at a glance. Her eyes were so bright that she could almost shoot a laser just now. Why is it called Crane Movie Emperor Big Cotton Candy? Is this a novel nickname? How come I don't know? She just wants to change her route and use the Crane Emperor to stay, right, hahaha, but it's useless. I guess we'll have some bad luck. He's famous for not getting close to strangers and doesn't like others touching his things. Now Qiao Nian's mind is ruined. Hahaha, as the most popular, Hejifan has over 300 million fans worldwide. Fans hold him as a model, knowing everything from his work schedule to his lifestyle habits. Especially in terms of cleanliness. Hejifan rarely interacts with people except for work, and he is always grateful for any dirty and messy touch needs other than those specific to filming. When he first joined the love show, Yan Xie tried to touch the things he used without believing in evil. In less than half an hour, the thing was crushed and thrown into the trash can. Hejifan also temporarily left the Heartbeat Villa until a dedicated person came to clean it up before continuing recording again. Now Qiao Nianin not only touched Heji's luggage and stepped into Heji's room, but also had direct physical contact with him. No one dares to imagine what the 4th recording would be like at the beginning. Qiao Nian 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 will be thrown out, right? Yan Xie whispered to Xiang Ro, look at the expression on Yingdi's face. At this moment, Hejifan's face was very serious, but it was not unpleasant, but strange. He can't see the evil energy, but he can feel the oppression on himself. Every time someone approaches him, those repressions will transition to the other person, concretizing into black mist. But just now, those suppressed people dared not act recklessly. He looked up at the stairs, and Qiao Nianin had already jumped down 2 times. Seeing him still standing at the door, Qiao Nianin was confused. It's November now, although it hasn't snowed yet, the weather is already very cold. She trembled with cultivation and protection, and those already cool evil energies wrapped around him. He still stood on the wind. Isn't it cold? Big Cotton Candy, come in. Qiao Nian Nian exclaimed. She wants to eat the evil energy, but she doesn't want to eat it with her hands and feet frozen. If he keeps standing there, she will have to apply to the production team for a pair of 1-meter-long chopsticks. Qiao Nian Nian was worried, and Hejifan stared at her with a slight silence. He changed his shoes and closed the door. Then, he walked step by step to Qiao Nian 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 and lowered his head. Here we go. Qiao Nian Nian will definitely be very miserable. I hate men hitting women, but if Yingdi beats Qiao Green Tea, I think there's no problem. Hejifan's company, Yantropy, is the biggest investor in the program. Hahaha, can I expect Qiao Nianin's recording to be terminated immediately? The audience was extremely excited, and Qiao Nianin stared at Hejifan, feeling a bit inexplicably nervous. However, Hejifan just asked lightly, why can you? The barrage was filled with question marks, and the guests were also unaware of why. But Qiao Nian Nian knew what he was asking. She is the little master of the underworld, the largest evil soul created by the master using the most crucial evil power of the underworld. She feeds on evil spirits, so no matter what kind of evil power it is, it cannot harm her. The same goes for the evil energy on him. I said it, Qiao Nian said with a bright smile. Are you a big cotton candy? She and Hejifan come and go, but not a single word is understandable. The two stood there, just a stone's throw away, as if a barrier had formed, isolating everyone from the outside. The crane god didn't actually deal with her. Actually, at first glance, these two people are a bit compatible. In the front, hitting CP can be grounded, but not grounded. CP Barrage reported, please fill in the reason for complaint as promoting cults. The audience chattered loudly, and the feeling of gentleness in the villa was not very good. Nian Nian, crane god. Biting his lips, he took a gentle step forward and said, have you had breakfast yet? Brother Fu and Xiao Mo have made some. Don't stand there, let's eat some together. Xiang Wenwen is an actress from Sunshine Film and Television. 2 years ago, when she suddenly became a female lead and became popular, her career seemed to be at its peak. She was not satisfied with wanting to climb, but no matter what she did, it was just a front line. This time when Love in Progress exposed He Jifan as a guest, she thought the opportunity came. But who knew that He Jifan didn't leave a single glance at her? She couldn't settle for a second place, and the heat between her and Gu Ting increased, giving her more opportunities, but it doesn't mean she can make Qiao Nian Nian approach He Jifan. Her eyes were filled with poison, and she looked at Xiao Nian 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 with a friendly expression on her face. However, the fingertip of her right hand pressed against the Tan Zhu bracelet on her wrist. Qiao Nian Nian frowned, and just as she thought tenderness would anger her, Qiao Nian Nian covered her stomach. With that, I'm a bit hungry, Qiao Nian Nian said, inviting He Jifan. Let's talk after we finish eating. He Jifan's eyes paused for a moment before nodding. Okay. The barrage is boiling. What's going on today? I'll go, isn't He Shen ignored by everyone? Why is Qiao Green Tea so magnanimous today? 3 episodes. We, the god of the crane, are all eating our own meals elsewhere, and even if we don't have a live broadcast, we have to open an 8-fold lens to find a shot. Chapter 5. My favorite Qiong plot. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Isn't it true that I can see the crane god for 5 minutes on my bed? Program team, quickly open the live broadcast footage of crane god. Oh my god, I have to rely on Qiao Green Tea to see the crane god. Not right, it should rely on gentleness, crane god, where would he really care about Qiao Green Tea? It's clearly for the sake of gentle face that he came here. Have you forgotten the answer from an interview with Heshan magazine a while ago? He hates women who are scheming and eager to compete the most, which clearly refers to Qiao Nian Nian. That's right, what kind of dream talk? It's different from Qiao Green Tea because we're gentle. To Qiao Nian Nian Nian, to be gentle towards her, just keep watching. Anyway. I'm determined to commemorate the head of CP. At this point, the camera has followed everyone from the living room to the kitchen. He Jifan was once very active, and the director didn't miss such a good opportunity to increase popularity. He immediately sent 2 live streaming photographers to shoot. Then, they found that the trajectory of He Jifan's movements was very strange. Wherever Qiao Nian Nian goes, he follows. When Qiao Nian Nian takes bread, he takes bread, and when Qiao Nian Nian takes jam, he takes jam. It's simply infuriating to ask questions, when did the relationship between these two become so good? Xiang Wenwen's eyebrows twitched, but she had already formed a CP with Gu Ting, and speaking out rashly was not a good decision. Fortunately, Yan Xie couldn't bear it either. Squeezing into the middle of the two, Yan Xie looked at He Jifan and said, He Shen is coming to the restaurant for the first time and may not be familiar with the location. The jam Xiao Nianan brought is actually not very delicious. How about He Shen try this sesame sauce? She leaned against the sink, pinching the sauce bottle in a very cautious posture. He Jifan glanced at her, his eyes cold and still silent. Qiao Nian Nian's head, wearing a skull hat, protruded from the side. Is this also delicious? Qiao Nian Nian leaned over and sniffed the flavor. She grabbed a scraper and spread a layer of bread on it. Could you please cover it, thank you. Watching Qiao Nian Nian slip the lid into Yan Shiyu's hand, He Jifan's pupils were somewhat surprised. After a moment, he lowered his eyes and raised the corner of his lips without a trace. At this moment, Qiao Nian Nian had already arrived at the dining table. Fu Shen and Song Qianxia sat nearby, with Umo next to the vacant Yan Xia seat, and only the empty seat next to Xiang Ro, as well as the 2 seats at the far edge. Gu Ting was preparing breakfast for Xiang Wenwen. Last week, while recording, she was pushed by Qiao Nian Nian when she was getting started, and her wrist hit the door, making it difficult for her to pick up things. As Qiao Nian Nian looked around his seat, Gu Ting's eyes narrowed. Because Qiao Nian Nian doesn't like him being with Xiang Wen, she always occupies his seat during meals, separating him from Xiang Wen. Zhou. Without landing the words, Qiao Nianan pulled open the chair at the edge and put down the plate. As soon as she sat down, He Jifan also sat beside her. Gu Ting's eyes trembled slightly, and his fans were also surprised. She really doesn't bother Gu Ting anymore, really. I don't believe it. Xiao Green Tea has such a deep mind, she must be holding a stomach full of bad water and waiting there. I don't think it's like this. Have you seen the reaction of the crane god? If I were Qiao Nian 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 and had the crane god treat me like this, why would I want Gu Ting? This is actually a fact, but it's hard to say, what if she wants to hang her head? Then I had Xiao Green Tea. The fans of Hejifan wildly praised the last bullet scream, but in a gentle heart, they sincerely wanted to eat Qiao Nian. She didn't understand why the little ghost she had placed on Qiao Nian Nian didn't work, nor did she know how Crane Jifan suddenly became so close to Qiao Nian Nian Nian. Qiao Nian Nian was clearly manipulated by the little ghost, arguing with her for a seat, and then she was forced to sit with He Jifan. What a mess. What a great resource is He Jifan. If we can be together, besides skyrocketing wealth, the international top tier is just around the corner. Glancing at Yan Xia in the gentle glow. Instead of relying on these useless people, it seems that she can only take action. Breakfast was just milk and bread, and everyone finished quickly. But on the contrary, Qiao Nianan ate very slowly. Everyone had finished tidying up their dishes, and she still had half left on the plate. She eagerly waited for an opportunity to finish the meal and sat with her for several minutes, which made Gu Ting very worried. Gentle, isn't it uncomfortable? Gu Ting asked, do you want me to call a doctor for you? She shook her head gently and said, I'm waiting for Nian Nian. She doesn't like washing dishes, right? I'll wait for her to finish eating and go wash them together. Gu Ting glanced at Xiao Nian Nian and said with annoyance, Xiao Nian Nian, did you intentionally do it? Since the recording of these 3 episodes, Qiao Nianan really doesn't like washing dishes very much. After finally washing them, they either bumped or didn't clean properly. Later on, with more attempts, Xiang Wenwen took on this responsibility, and every time Qiao Nian finished eating, she would take it and wash it. Thinking that Qiao Nianan didn't express any gratitude towards Xiang tenderness, and even poured hot water on Xiang tenderness last week, Gu Ting immediately thought that Xiao Nianan's slow eating today was making it difficult for Xiang tenderness. As the blame fell on Qiao Nian Nian, who was holding a loaf of bread in his mouth, he said, what's wrong with me? What else is going on? Gu Ting sneered, you deliberately occupy the time of gentleness, with the obvious purpose of reducing my interaction with gentleness. Qiao Nian Nian, I thought you had changed a bit. Alright, I'll make it clear to you again. I, Gu Ting, only like to be gentle and don't like you. Please don't make things difficult for gentleness again in the future, understand? Qiao Nianan said, No, did she do anything to him and Xiang tenderness? She sat here because she didn't like to eat bread for a long time, which hindered their business. Okay, Qiao Nian Nian sat up helplessly, then I'll go wash it now, okay. With a wrung mouth, she stuffed the remaining half of the bread into her mouth and walked towards the sink. That big eyes, pitiful expression, like a bullied kindergarten child. No. I thought we were going to argue. Hysterically saying I love Gu Ting, crying crazily and saying I don't accept it. Who is this cute guy? Where's my favorite Qiong Yao plot going? Someone came, who replaced my showQiao with this Qiao hamster, the barrage loudly questioned, but Xiao Nian Nian was really forced like a hamster. After dressing up as Xiao Nian 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 in the mortal world, she ate only cooked rice and noodles. Today, for the first time eating bread, she thought it was something delicious. However, the bread with jam and sesame sauce was really not delicious. That taste is sticky and dry in the mouth, like a toad eating raw and dry mud. Chapter 6. Eating Evil. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. With a bitter expression on his face, He Jifan turned on the faucet and walked over, saying, if you don't like it, you can spit it out. Xiao Nian Nian shook her head. 5 grains are not easy, wasting food will be struck by the heavens and lightning. As she spoke, she forcefully swallowed the last bit of bread. With a firm and sincere expression, He Jifan couldn't help but tug at his lips. My husband laughs so well. All right. Look. Ah. Just for the sake of giving my husband so many more shots, as long as she continues to be like this, even if it's just her character, I won't criticize her anymore. Xiao Nian is really much better now. It seems that the public relations of the audio company have been doing a lot of work for her these days. Damn it, who said Crane God is looking for gentle face? Stand up. Previously, it was, but now it's not. In front, if the sky falls, you can donate your mouth, don't rush to mock upstairs. Even if Qiao of Chai is better now, she cannot change the fact that she hurts gentleness. Be careful not to hit her face. To the gentle fans, a word cleared the screen, and to the gentle myself, millions of poisonous needles also sprouted in my heart. She got close and was the first to see the changes in He Jifan. Biting his back teeth, he took a deep breath and slowly caressed the sandalwood bracelet on his left wrist with his gentle fingertips. He smiled and approached, saying, Nian Nian, let me do it. He Jifan had finished washing, so she took the opportunity to squeeze to Qiao Nian Nian's side and reached out to touch the foam-filled plate in Qiao Nian Nian's hand. At the same time, a little ghost squeezed out from the sandalwood bead on her wrist. It condensed into the shape of a baby in mist, crawling from gentle heels to gentle shoulders, with 3 deformed eyes growing on its clear white face. The camera is still facing here, but neither the photographer in front of or behind the screen has responded. Those 3 eyes moved and glanced at He Jifan, whose evil energy was suppressed, giggling and revealing a row of sharp teeth. They reached out to climb from Xiangentleness to Qiao Nian's body. His goal is to have Zhou Nian Nian's hands. He wanted Zhou Nian Nian Nian's hands to break the plate and cut his mother's arm as she begged. Without waiting for any action, Qiao Nian Nian suddenly turned her head. Looking at each other, Qiao Nian Nian blinked and said, huh. She glanced up and down at the little ghost. Although she has a strange appearance, she can recognize that this is not a local ghost. This place was the location of a haunted house hundreds of years ago, but it should have been surrounded by 12-year-old people. The evil ghost maintains its body shape during its lifetime. How could such a small foreign ghost come from? Qiao Nian frowned, but didn't think too much. Her slender fingers circled slightly. Feeling the pressure of death, the little ghost quickly escaped. It collided with Gu Ting's leg, and Gu Ting's stomach suddenly twitched. Artists value their image the most. When wrestling, they should never fall on all fours and reach out urgently. Gu Ting grabbed the open and closed door of the cupboard, but didn't want to make a loud noise. All the spare dishes fell out and went straight towards tenderness and Xiao Nian, gentleness. Gu Ting shouted and hugged Xiang gentleness into his arms. However, the expected injury did not come at all. Sleeping slut. Qiao, how did you do it? You're so handsome. As the voice of Song Qianxia echoed, Gu Ting opened his squinted eyes and immediately froze. Not a single cup, plate, or dish was broken. Xiao Nian Nian used the washed plate as the base to catch all the things that fell off, while holding a red wine glass with the other hand. The red wine glass supported the other cups with a point. At this moment, the glass was high and placed on the position of the cupboard. He Jifeng stood beside him, his outstretched hands seemingly trying to protect Xiao Nian Nian, but obviously, it's no longer necessary. He stopped and asked the photographer to help call others to put down the red wine glass in Xiao Nian Nian's hand. The expression of the crane god is like, I want a hero to save the beauty, but the beauty suddenly pulls her coat and says she comes from Shaolin Temple. The upstairs also accurately and vividly illustrates my current expression. I didn't even see it clearly just now, the movements were so fast, a little handsome. A little excited. Me too. Did Xiao Nian Nian read so well during normal times? Or did the company give her a martial arts class in just 1 week? In a moment of shock among the black fans, the others in the living room returned to the kitchen to help. The photographer's camera was connected to the personal live broadcast room on his phone, and when he was helping, it was exposed outside the pocket of his work jacket. Coincidentally, the barrage was clearly visible to the gentle. The plan was not achieved, and Xiao Nian Nian's reputation improved a lot. He was so angry with tenderness that he had to thank Xiao Nian Nian, Nian Nian, thank you for saving me. Biting his teeth, he smiled gently and said, if it weren't for you, Gu Ting and I would definitely. You're welcome. Xiao Nian 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 didn't listen to her so much and nodded. But Xiao Jie, how come you react so quickly? Have you practiced before? Song Qianxia asked, I just wanted to come in and drink some water, and you just boasted a few times about catching everything. It's so amazing. She originally thought that beauty was all the strengths of Qiao Nian Nian, but just now Qiao Nian Nian's behavior completely shattered her view of her vase. Qiao Nian Nian is now her god. Is it impressive? After thinking for a moment, Xiao Nian said, I was born with it. Song Qianxia was taken aback and said, you already knew how to do it, so why didn't you show it before? In the first few episodes, there were many personal talent shows, and at that time it was Qiao Nian's turn to sing and play the piano, similar to everyone else, and even accused of imitating gentleness. But if she had performed this from the beginning, her popularity and image wouldn't have been the same as they are now. Seeing Song Qianxia's question, Xiao Nianan also froze. She forgot that besides being the little underworld lord, she was also the female star of the human world, Xiao Nianan. Holding the thermos in her arms, Xiao Nian was at a loss for a moment. Her big eyes flickered and she said, I'm afraid you don't like it. She hesitated at the end of her sentence and pulled it long. Immediately, let Gu Ting tighten his spine. What don't you like? Her meaning is clearly referring to him. Gu Ting clenched his fist. Not long after, the kitchen farce was over and everyone dispersed. The recording of the love show is a weekly break, and in order to provide a buffer for the guests, there are basically no tasks on Monday. Seeing the person leave, Xiao Nianan also wanted to talk to He Jifeng about the evil energy, but unexpectedly, as soon as he went upstairs, Gu Ting followed suit. Xiao Nian Nian Nian, wait. Standing on the second-floor corridor, Xiao Nian Nian and He Jifeng turned around. Xiao Nian Nian actually doesn't like to be gentle with Gu Ting. She lives in the underworld and doesn't have much common sense, but she can feel that being gentle is what little ghosts call White Lotus. But compared to this kind of two-faced woman, what she hates more is Gu Ting. Chapter 7. Meeting Scumbags. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xiao Nianan is a very strong girl. When she woke up from this body, she could feel her unwillingness to pursue her career and her resilience to persevere. But in the end, she gave up all of this. Because Gu Ting, who is her motivation and the person she loves, hates her, despises her, and doesn't believe her. How painful she was, but this body told her that the suffocation feeling of being deprived of oxygen by carbon monoxide was nothing more than the despair of being slandered by Gu Ting. As a result, she couldn't wait to stay away from Gu Ting and Xiang Wenru. Even further away. Qiao Nian lowered her eyes as she originally intended to fulfill the original owner's wishes and simply leave the entertainment industry. But if there is a change in the plan now, she can help her meet a scumbag. Opening her eyes, Qiao Nian Nian pursed her lips and said, "What's up?" Gu Ting glanced at He Jifan and said, "Crane God, I have something to say to Qiao Nianan. Can you please leave for a while?" He Jifan does not participate in love affairs activities all year round, but he is not unaware of the hot Weibo triangle dog blood romance in this villa. He turned around and entered the terrace, being grabbed by Qiao Nian Nian. "No need," Qiao Nianan said as she wrapped her arm around her, her fluffy purple skull outfit making her look like a medical skeleton. "That's it." Gu Ting frowned and a second later, he said, "I originally wanted to save you some face, but you always do this." "Okay. I'm here to thank you," Gu Ting sighed. "Today you saved me and Wen in the kitchen, thank you." And then, although I've said it many times, I don't know if you can listen, but Qiao Nian Nian. If you can avoid targeting me and being gentle in the future, I can be friends with you. If you agree, you can still buy my merchandise, purchase my album, and sit in my VIP seat. I am also willing to call out your name when I see you. Qiao Nian Nian said, She rubbed her ears. She didn't hear it wrong, did she? What is this person saying? However, Gu Ting didn't think there was a problem at all. He even glanced at He Jifan and said, "However, don't do such things again in the future. Find someone you don't like to anger me with. In the end, it's still you who hurt yourself, after all, He Shen. Anyway, you know it yourself," he said earnestly. "Qiao Nian Nian Nian, you have to believe that without me, you can still find good people." Stop. Qiao Nian Nian couldn't bear it anymore and glanced at He Jifan. She asked Gu Ting, "Do you think that I still don't recognize your blindness and like you blind?" Gu Ting became impatient and said, "Qiao Nian Nian, I'm here to talk to you well. Don't think you can save me and be gentle. You can. What can I do?" Qiao Nian Nian glanced at him. "My cheekbones are high, my eyebrows are scattered, and my forehead is narrow. I have a short life look of narcissism and gossip, which makes me feel heartbroken." Her gaze fell on the ghostly aura gathered around him, and she gave a cold smile. From the perspective of narcissism, we almost became CP in the first episode. I hope you can fall lightly in the next episode, not shatter, just click. Turning around, Qiao Nianan pushed open the balcony door and walked in with He Jifan. The balcony is very wide, with sofas and barbecue utensils, but because it is winter and there is no stove, no one stays here. Qiao Nian Nian sat down on the sofa and was curled up by the winter wind before pulling up her hat. A woolen blanket was draped over her body. She looked over and saw that Heji's eyebrows and eyes were cold and indifferent, without much emotion. "I remember there was heating here, I asked the director to turn it on, you wait." The two of them wanted to talk business, so the photographer was left downstairs. Qiao Nian Nian thought he was going down to shout for someone, but he didn't expect him to take out his phone. Qiao Nian read in surprise, "Didn't you take your phone when the program started?" "You." She remembered that Huantropy, the company of Hejifan, was the largest investor in the program. She looked enviously at Hejifan. She only touched her phone for 2 days when she came to the world, and it was really fun, especially when it came to pesticides and chicken eating. After thinking for a moment, Qiao Nian Nian leaned over and said, "Do you have pesticides in your phone? Is that the game everyone is playing now?" "Only mini programs can be played." He Jifan shook his head and said in a tone that seemed to coax the child. Qiao Nian Nian became energetic and said, "That's also possible. However." She tentatively glanced at Hejifan. She knows that there are many rules in the world, such as it is impolite to take someone else's phone without permission. Xiao Nian Nian is only a few years younger than him, but her face is small and beautiful like a doll. The big eyes looked at him, and he Jifan slid down the search box of the mini-program and asked, "Why aren't you devoured by the evil energy?" This is the question he has been wanting to ask. Before the 4 episodes, every person in this villa was someone he couldn't interact with. Although he used runes to suppress his evil energy and ensure that he could carry out his work, he still couldn't avoid the harm of his evil energy to the other party. They, like spores, will grow wildly at a slight touch and eventually pull people to death from the inside out. He has always kept a respectful distance from everyone because of this. I said, "You're cotton candy." Qiao Nian Nian opened an elimination game and reached out to grip him. A gray-black gas materialized in her small hand. Heji was taken aback and saw Qiao Nian Nian flip his fingertips. The black mist turned into a black, fluffy cotton candy with a loud bang, which Qiao Nian Nian stuffed into his mouth. The crane season burns and stagnates. Qiao Nian licked his fingertips and tilted his head to smile. "These marshmallows are the evil energy on your body, and I use these marshmallows as food. It's like grass and rabbits. Have you ever seen grass-eating rabbits? The balcony is extremely quiet. The wind blows vigorously, heating is supplied, and there is no cold. For a long time, the crane season burned its lips. You're not Xiao Nian Nian Nian." He spoke confidently without any doubt. Xiao Nian's smile stopped, and he Jifan said, "During the first recording, she kindly wanted to help me carry my luggage. At that time, I bumped into her and felt the invasion of evil energy on her." "You're not her," he Jifan said word by word. "Who are you, a ghost?" Qiao Nian Nian didn't expect to fall off the horse so unexpectedly. She has traveled through until now, and her agent has not noticed the problem. She dislikes her thinking that Gu Ting, who knows her, has not noticed the problem, but unexpectedly, it has been discovered by He Jifan that something is wrong. "I'm not a low-level evil spirit like a ghost," said Qiao Nianan without concealing it. "I'm the little master of the underworld, with the same name and surname as Qiao Nianan. As for the original Qiao Nianan, she committed suicide and is no longer there. However, she is kind-hearted and should have already crossed the Mengpa Bridge and been reborn into a very good family by now." Chapter 8. Simple Fate Calculation. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Heji burned and closed his eyes. Is it because of the 3rd episode? Xiao Nian nodded and said, She looked at He Jifan and said, "Why are you looking regretful?" He Jifan raised his eyes and said, "With the strength of Huantropy, we can control public opinion when an incident occurs. It shouldn't be this kind of result. He doesn't like Qiao Nian Nian, but that girl is nice. Even though she can't bring her luggage over, she wants to help him take it upstairs. Even if there were some disputes between her and Xiang Ro later on, she couldn't bear to die." The sympathy from strangers made Xiao Nian Nian dumbfounded. After a moment, she reached out and patted He Jifan's shoulder, saying, "It's okay, she didn't die out because of public opinion. Mainly because of Gu Ting. The original owner always insisted that she brought cold water instead of hot water, but the hot water poured out made Gu Ting feel that she had a desire to disdain gentleness. Gu Ting identified her as a bad person. The original owner's coldness is only at this point." Qiao Nianan said, "Anyway, don't worry about this anymore. Aren't you concerned about cotton candy?" "No need," He Jifan leaned towards the sofa. "I know your abilities and identity, and I have no further questions." Qiao Nian said, "Really? Don't you want me to help you get rid of the evil energy on your body?" "You can't do it." He Jifan said, "If your ability can take all of these away, you will just eat them all directly, but you don't. This proves that your current ability is insufficient." Qiao Nian Nian stared blankly. Because he was really hit by Heji's words. Although possessing the evil energy on Heji's body, she can quickly refine her body and return to the underworld. However, her current body cannot swallow so many evil energy masses, and the only result of forcefully swallowing it is an explosion. She can only take it slowly. You're quite intelligent, aren't you? Xiao Nian Nian grabbed a ball of black cotton candy from him and stuffed it into his mouth, patting his head. As a reward, I'll take a bite of you. Hedjefan lowered his eyes helplessly and reminded, you are now in modern society, so you need to speak your mind. Qiao Nian blinked and hadn't replied yet. Suddenly, Song Qianxia rushed up and said, Sister Qiao. Gu Ting is asking you. Sweeping over Hedjefan beside Xiao Nianan, Song Qianxia was stunned for a moment. In the noisy live broadcast room, fans were also confused. Why are Qiao Nian 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 and He not staying with photographers? Why does Qiao Nian 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 have a phone? Sisters in front, the shell of this brand is obviously the crane god. Oh, why is Qiao Nian Nian holding the crane god's phone? Finally, why is Qiao Nian Nian touching the head of the crane god? When did these two people become so close to each other? The live broadcast room exploded, and for a moment, the backstage of the production team almost froze. Fortunately, her mouth was always dedicated to Song Qianxia's work. She looked at Hedjefan and then at Xiao Nianan, and asked, are you in an underground relationship? After speaking, she felt something was wrong again. In the previous episodes, Qiao Nian Nian was still jealous of Gu Ting's desperate efforts. How could he have fallen in love with Hedjefan so quickly? Apart from anything else, Hedjefan is not such a casual person. No. At the moment when the live streaming platform's server was about to crash, Qiao Nianan finally denied it. She put down her hand and introduced Hedjefan to the camera, saying, this is my new friend who is responsible for treating me to cotton candy and borrowing my phone to play. After speaking, she remembered something and said to Hedjefan, good friend, can I play with pesticides next time? In the underworld, as long as one has confessed their true identity, it is equivalent to being good friends with each other. Hedjefan nodded. After downloading the game from the App Store, Song Qianxia still felt uneasy and said, so, you guys won't be able to date in the future. It's not her fault for asking, after all, it's the crane season burning. Hedgie burning, the dream lover of billions of women. Although he participated in a love show, no one would think he would really fall in love on a show. Her Qiao sister's status is not enough, and now her reputation is not good. She is afraid that her Qiao sister will be swallowed by fans. Her voice was not loud, and Qiao Nian Nian couldn't hear her clearly. She let out a question, and Hedjefan looked over and asked, what did you say about Gu Ting just now? Song Qianxia finally remembered. By the way, Gu Ting broke his leg. As Qiao said in the live broadcast room, he had just separated from Qiao for less than 20 minutes when he fell off the flower bed and his calf snapped in two. Qiao Nian Nian frowned and said, I remember he didn't bring a photographer with him. It's a Bluetooth microphone, Song Qianxia said. His photographer went to the restroom, but the live broadcast room wasn't closed, and I could still hear you talking. Now the live broadcast room is all noisy, saying, you crow mouth. Woo. Does this group of people have any culture? Qiao Nian became angry and said, am I the kind of low-level thing that can be compared to? I'm just a fortune teller and a physiognomy. I can tell he's going to be unlucky, okay? Fortune telling and facial recognition is it the kind of street magician who wears sunglasses to deceive and deceive. Qiao Nian's idea of green tea character design has changed to a love affair scam route, right? Bold speculation, did Xiao Nianan deceive Hedjefan through this method to make friends with him? This makes sense. She must have said something about her husband's misfortune. Husband. Don't be deceived by her, husband. If Qiao Nian Nian knows fortune telling, how can she not calculate the result of harming gentleness? Doubts and slanders about Qiao Nian Nian's ability to tell fortune fill the screen. On the other hand, Song Qianxia first asked, do you really know how to tell fortune? Xiao Nian nodded and her gaze rested on Song Qianxia's face for a while. She said, "You've been lucky lately. My career is smooth, and the online store's business is very prosperous. Last week, I also obtained a batch of very scarce fabrics, which will be available for new products next week. Moreover, the designer you were very interested in collaborating with before signed a new cooperation order with you the day before yesterday. Your mother had a cerebral hemorrhage and was admitted to the ICU. Yesterday, she was also out of danger and transferred to a regular hospital room. She also won 10,000 yuan in the scraping and scraping therapy. Am I right?" Qiao Nian recited words like spitting pearls, speaking at a flat and fast pace, but Song Qianxia could hear every word clearly. Because that's her experience during this period. "Qiao, Sister Qiao." She looked at Xiao Nian Nian in shock, stuttering a bit. "I didn't tell you about these things, how did you know?" Xiao Nian Nian lowered her head and started playing the game. "It's obvious." Song Qianxia's heart was pounding. She became a Hanfu internet celebrity in college, and now she has just graduated and opened an online store. The business didn't start for long, and she knew it wasn't decided yet, so apart from her colleagues, she never disclosed any business matters to the public before making a decision. And Mom. At that time, as soon as she joined the romance show, something happened to her mother. She was extremely anxious, but she was afraid that the heat would spread to the hospital and did not show it. She was very certain that no one except her family and 2 loyal colleagues knew about this matter. Chapter 9. It's okay, it's just a female ghost. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. However, your health hasn't been very good lately. Qiao Nian Nian glanced at the wisps of ghostly energy entwined around her and said, "Even though I slept early and had a good posture, I went for a massage, but I still felt heavy when I slept at night. When I woke up, my back was sore and I also had a headache." Song Qianxia suddenly lifted her eyes. "Yes, yes." Song Qianxia rushed over and sat directly between the two. The squeezed crane season burning. He glanced at Xiao Nian Nian, but she didn't feel any discomfort and chose a wild hero. Compared to Qiao Nian's leisurely recitation, Song Qianxia was already so nervous that her heart reached her throat. "Xiao Jia, do you know what's going on, right?" "Me, am I?" "No." Qiao Nian Nian's face remained calm, but Song Qianxia finally breathed a sigh of relief and heard her add, "You're just sleeping with the female ghost. At most, you're sick, not a big deal." Song Qianxia's mouth twitched and said, "Really, really." The game had already started, and I didn't want to say much to her. Qiao Nian Nian reached into her pajama pocket and pulled out a yellow talisman. "This is a manifestation symbol. You can put it under your pillow and see the ghost when you sleep." Qiao Nian Nian finished fighting his little monster and went to be the 6th in the grass. Go ahead, go ahead." Song Qianxia looked bewildered and said, "Oh." Song Qianxia was kicked out of the balcony and didn't react until she came downstairs with a talisman. Wait, shouldn't she help me catch ghosts? Why did she let me see ghosts? She turned back to look at the photographer, who looked at her in confusion. The amount of information on the balcony just now was too large for both of them to digest. They followed Xiao Nian's words and finalized the result. The program fans also stayed for a while. Surprisingly, there's number 998, number 888, number 88888. I thought she was going to play the role of a genius on the show, and then cheat a group of guests out of their money before retreating. Is that all for the charm? Is that true, just drawing and playing with it? But just now everyone saw Song Qianxia's expression, and Xiao Nianan seemed to have really hit the nail on the head. The previous one is really reliable. There are occasional scripts on the same program. Maybe Xiao Nianan's company colluded with Song Qianxia to whitewash Xiao Nianan, but what if it's not? Amidst a pile of rebuttals, someone raised a question and silenced everyone. What if it's not? What if it really works? Song Qianxia also vaguely thought about it in her heart. She didn't fully believe that Xiao Nianen could tell fortune, and thought it might be someone who told Xiao Nianen these things. But what if Xiao Nian Nian really calculates it? Holding the yellow talisman paper, Song Qianxia's heart trembled. Forget it, let's just give it a try and talk. She stuffed the talisman under the pillow. On the other side, Hejifen looked at Xiao Nianen, who had killed 5 people. Is it really okay? Upon hearing the question, Xiao Nian Nian looked up and said, do you want her to see ghosts? It's okay, I live next door to her. If she has anything, I will go over. Furthermore. As the words, victory, popped out of the screen, Xiao Nian Nian smiled cunningly and said, there are some things that she can't verify. How can I charge for them? Although she is not greedy for money, living in this world with her physical body requires spending money every day. When she was traveling a few days ago, she saw that the money earned by the original owner from filming and advertising was mostly used to buy the surroundings of Guting, with only a miserable balance of over 10,000 yuan. She walked over, paid the rent, erected a spiritual plaque for the original owner, and bought rune paper cinnabar. There was really nothing left. I have already sold all of Gu Ting's things in the seafood market, but now only a few of them have been sold, and they haven't returned blood. Xiao Nianen is in pain, but I want to buy new skin, and I want to eat Xiaolongbao, a hairy crab in the world, and drink milk tea. The girl was about to roll up in sadness. Hejifen looked at her and thought thoughtfully, I can lend it to you first. Xiao Nian Nian suddenly sat up straight and said, really? Hejifen nodded, we are friends. Xiao Nian Nian's eyes lit up and he suddenly reached out to embrace him. Hejifen's eyes were filled with astonishment, and she quickly let go of him, jumping up and down on the ground in her furry socks. Okay, friend. I will definitely make good money and give it back to you. She has a delicate little face and a hint of innocence that is not familiar with the world. When she smiles, she is particularly bright and charming. She patted her chest to secure him, and in an instant, she was already torn between eating first or buying skin first. Greed, yet not worldly. Hejifen stared at her, with a slight curve slowly rising at the corner of his mouth. Buy it all. Pressed the payment button. Outside the balcony door that the two of them hadn't noticed, they turned around with a gentle and indifferent expression. Knowing that the entrance to the building was a blind spot for cameras, she took out a wooden sign from her pocket and vigorously rubbed the carved three-eyed baby pattern on it with her fingertips, her voice hoarse. I'll give you one last chance. If you don't do things well, Mom guarantees that she will definitely burn you. Remember, make sure Xiao Nianen pushes Gu Ting down the stairs. It was late at night, and everyone returned to their respective rooms. This love show is about recording the details of life among the members. Even if everyone falls asleep at night, the cameras in the common area of the villa are still on, but the content of the live broadcast is pitch black, so most people will wait until the next morning to watch. But tonight is different, a faint sentence drifts across the pitch black screen. Have everyone slept yet? In an instant, a large number of barrage streamed past. Not really. I want to see if there are any female ghosts tonight. Same as above. Wait for Qiao Nian Nian to slap her face. Whether it's fans or black, I just want to know if this is true. I went to ask a Taoist friend of mine, and he said that if it weren't for colluding in advance, then Xiao Nianen would be really skilled at master level. What kind of master? I think it's just a character design. Look, there's definitely nothing to do tonight. Tomorrow, I'll see how round Xiao green tea is. On the other side, in a dimly lit room, Xiang Rou sat in a meditative position on the bed. The warm orange light cast an enlarged humanoid shadow on the wall. A candlestick was placed on the table in front of her, and the dim yellow light in the center illuminated her face, appearing eerie. As the candle flickered, the figure swayed left and right. She silently recited something to the gentle mouth, and after about 10 seconds, she opened her eyes. The momentum flowed through her eyes, and she took out the wooden card tightly held in her hand, staring at it fiercely. Mom never starves you, so you must do this well. Do you understand? The wooden plaque jumped and shook a few times, and the fully absorbed soul revealed joy, acting very obediently. Chapter 10. Ghost Hunting 1. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. On the balcony sofa, Qiao Nian was wrapped in a blanket and still playing passionately. She played for a long time, and when she got tired of playing one game, she switched to another. With the consent of He Jifan, she played several games. Why not? It's the little master of the ground beetle underworld, who has never seen the colorful world game. I've passed. On the left and left. Yes. Xiao Nian Nian raised her phone and cheered happily, raising her small face and grinning at the corners of her lips. He Jifan, who was reading on the side, glanced at the game interface and saw the words, pass, appearing. A hint of smile appeared on his lips, his slender fingers covering the book with a hint of curiosity. Is it so fun? Upon hearing this, Xiao Nian Nian's face lit up and she adjusted her posture. Her slender legs crossed, and she felt as if she was trapped in the sofa. She extended a finger and waved it at him, blinking her innocent big eyes at him. You don't understand, this is something new to me. I haven't played with it in so long. I saw her pouting in grievance and muttering, why don't those little ghosts mention how fun the world is? Deeply accused those little ghosts of not showing loyalty. He Jifan didn't speak, just sat relaxed on the sofa, feeling the gentle breeze, which was rare and comfortable. Oh, what does this mean? Qiao Nian Nian pressed her finger a few times on the screen and found that she couldn't close a window, so she handed him her phone to look at. He Jifan lowered his head and eyes, and the window displayed the words, recharge. He explained, it means you need to recharge to continue playing the next level. Ah, I still need to pay, I thought only skin is needed. Qiao Nian Nian regretfully exited the page. He Jifan felt that she seemed to have insufficient understanding of human currency transactions, so she added, here, many things need to be recharged, whether it's games, meals, or other things, they are all exchanged for equal value. Just like the underworld should also need cryptocurrency. Qiao Nian nodded and commented, there are really many things in your world that require the use of ghost coins for specific things and things in the underworld. He Ji burned silently, indeed so. She glanced at the time, it was a little over. So he returned his phone to He Jifan, stretched lazily, hammered his arm, and twisted his wrist. Playing all night, it's really tiring. However, it's time to do the work. By the time Song Qianxia went downstairs and returned to her room, she should have fallen asleep by now, and the spell placed under her pillow should also come into effect. Do you need any help? He Jifan put away his phone and asked seriously. No need, just stand still. Qiao Nian Nian decisively refused. This He Jifan was full of strong and almost transformed evil energy. Not to mention helping, just standing there was their food supply. With proper assistance, how could she still handle things seriously? What if the female ghost doesn't want to be captured in Chinese yuan? Just as he was speaking, a scream came from the southeast direction of the first floor. Ah 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 ah. He burned his brows and eyes with coldness. His schedule was very regular, and he usually went to bed early except during filming. However, it is speculated that Xiao Nian 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 will stay up until catching ghosts, so he didn't sleep either. Because the ghostly activity tonight is likely to disturb him, such as this highly penetrating soprano. It's the voice of Song Qianxia. Upon hearing this sound, Xiao Nian Nian stood up and walked downstairs. He Jifan followed her. The production team also wanted to verify Xiao Nian Nian's words and cause trouble, so they specially placed a camera and microphone at Song Qianxia's doorstep. As expected, the barrage exploded in an instant. Sleeping slot, lying slot, can't it be true? No, I really thought it was nonsense. Irons, who knows? I'm reading a novel, and the sound almost scared me out. From this moment on, she will be my song sister. Not to mention, if she participates in a singing competition, she will have one person, one vote to debut. I'm a bit scared in the middle of the night. Is Song Qianxia okay? Why didn't anyone go and take a look? Rich, strong, democratic, civilized, and harmonious. Damn it, my goosebumps have already risen. Xiao Nian Nian, isn't she a master? Go and rescue us Xiao quickly. Qiao Nian said that it would take some time to go downstairs, and during this time, the people in the live broadcast room were all staring at the screen tightly. In the darkness, a rustling sound suddenly sounded, and something could be vaguely seen passing by in the picture. What kind of noise is this, that thing? Running out. Irons, I'm afraid of whimpering. I'll go, isn't this a romance show? Why is it so exciting? Is Xiao okay? That thing won't harm anyone else, will it? Believe in science, believe in science. Ah no, I won't do it first. Just as the audience in front of the screen was feeling anxious, the chandelier on the first floor suddenly lit up. In the picture, the simple and brave figure of the photographer appears prominently, holding the camera and squatting at the door of Song Qianxia's house. After the barrage fell silent. Is that all? He really, I cried to death. What kind of hard-working worker is this? Brother's spirit of working without fear of ghosts makes me shiver in front of the barrage and almost cry. The light was turned on by Qiao Nian Nian. She walked leisurely to the door of Song Qianxia's room and reached out to grab the doorknob. Pada. As soon as the door opened, a visible mist rushed towards her. Qiao Nian Nian stood at the door, her pupils slightly dilated, and a stream of light flashed through her eyes. She walked in without a trace. The photographer saw her enter and also walked in with the camera in hand. When the crane burns, its long body stands still at the entrance. After brushing through this layer of fog, I finally saw the situation in the room clearly. Song Qianxia was wearing pajamas and standing in the corner by the window, with her hair scattered and her hands constantly throwing things forward. The direction of throwing is exactly the direction of the door. Qiao Nian Nian, who had just entered, reached out and caught the mineral water she had thrown over. She glanced at her hand. I happened to be thirsty, so I opened the bottle cap and slowly took a sip. The barrage. Everyone was puzzled. Song Qianxia was forced to the corner, and she was actually drinking water. Damn it, why does she have a smooth and effortless way of rushing? I actually think it's very elegant. Bridge bean hemp bag. Only I noticed Crane God and Joe coming down together. I didn't even notice the upstairs bedroom without saying it. As soon as Song Qianxia saw Qiao Nian walking in, tears almost flowed down her face. At this moment, her sister Qiao seemed like a celestial being descending. Miss Qiao, help me. Who knows what she went through? Gone, only ghosts really know. She slept as usual today, and Qiao Nian didn't take her words to heart. Until I vaguely smelled the smell of burning paper in my sleep. Opening my eyes, there was a strong mist in front of me. In the blink of an eye, a pale face covered in hair suddenly appeared, with blood-red lips and long hair hanging down. She screamed and jumped up, intending to run out, but the female ghost seemed to know her thoughts and stopped in front of the door. She could only run to the corner. Later, they came.